News Radio Wood 1300 to 106.9 FM. Catherine Mars is on the phone with us right now. It's a bigger threat to millennials than even North Korea and their nuclear capabilities. 70% at least feel that way. They say student debt is really what's bogging us down. Here to talk about that and maybe how to prepare if you are a parent of a couple of kids that are going in to college, or maybe you've got that student debt and you're trying to break free of it. Catherine Mars, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
Great, Justin. Thank you so much for having me on your show this morning.
So it's 70%. I mean, this is a pretty big number. And I would imagine, because this is something that affects their daily lives, student debt, and the change that it really wraps around these folks. I mean, this is seemingly bigger than, of course, North Korea and whatever that guy might be doing over there. But this is in everyone's everyday lives.
Right. I think that, when you talk about student debt, kids need to really look at things before they are going to college and assess what they think they might be interested in majoring in, and look at the return on investment. And if they're going to pick a liberal arts track to go to college, then they need to definitely consider going to the cheapest school possible, not a name school, for instance. In other words, the saying goes, it's not where you go, it's what you do when you get there. So kids need to really pay attention to that, and if they're, they need to have a heart-to-heart with their parents, and if their parents say, I cannot help you with college, you're going to have to do this on your own, then they look at the alternatives. They can go to community college and get an associate's degree and then transfer to a four-year school. That's significantly cheaper. Or they can take a gap year and work for a year and save some money and then start college. College is very expensive, and colleges don't right now seem to have a buy-in. In other words, they just want kids to come, and it's the student's responsibility on how to pay for it. In all reality, colleges need to offer a freshman seminar, as they do in many other things like writing, to help students learn how to handle their debt, handle their finances. Many kids have never had any such responsibility before, and at 18, here they are taking on student debt, and they don't even know necessarily what the interest rates are or what it means.
Mars College Admission and Advisors there. MarsCAA.com is Catherine Mars. And, of course, Catherine, talking a little bit about this, it's a good point. It used to just be that, you went to school, you got good grades, you studied real hard so that you can get into another good school, and then you'd get that great job when you got out. And when you got out and got that job, you'd work 40 years or whatever it was, and then you'd retire and get that golden watch. But, the world is changing so fastly, so quickly. We just talked about this with the governor. And they're looking at new ways to attract business here in the state of Michigan. Shouldn't we be looking as individuals at new ways to approach education, paying for it, and really, as you just kind of put it, that's a thing that we don't normally think about, but return on investment when it comes to what we're doing with our lives.
Right. I mean, there are certainly careers out there today that if you go to college and major in that particular industry, such as engineering, then you are more than likely going to land a pretty good job and be able to pay your student debt back. Yeah. But the thing about it is, if you're not you don't have an interest in math and science, and you don't want to be an engineer, going to college to be an engineer is not going to serve you well.
Yeah, how much of this is knowing yourself, or maybe as a parent knowing your child, and really, we want the best for our kids, right? And normally we'd think that path is through college, et cetera. But how much of this is just knowing your kids or knowing yourself as a student and understanding maybe what the best path would be for that individual?
Well, there's certainly a lot of career testing that can be done that's online, that's free, that parents and students can do to help them better understand who they are. But at 17, 18 years old, in the United States, one of the beauties of our education system is that we are not pegged to do a certain type of industry. And so, unlike in India or in some parts of Europe, where you go to school and you know from day one what you're going to major in and what you're going to come out with.
Sure.
And yes, that's good, except that, at 18, 17, 18, we don't know what we want to be when we grow up. And in society today in the United States, people are going to change jobs at least 2 or 3 times, maybe more, and change careers.
Yeah.
So, it is impossible, in my opinion, for a parent to be able to look at their child and say, oh, you're going to do this. Well, if the child has been playing with Legos since they were 2 and they love it and they build things and they are interested in motors and they're interested in how things work and they take apart things and put them back together, then yes, that's a really good clue that that child is probably going to go into some sort of engineering or computer science maybe. But not every student is wired like that. And so you have a student who loves literature and loves to read but hates math. Well, then that child should go and get a liberal arts degree, but make sure they tap into that career center at school so that they can get some internships where they can learn some skills that can go on their resume when they graduate. Because every liberal arts kid I know is going to have to probably go to graduate school. But if they can at least learn some skills while they're in their undergraduate degree training, then they can come out and get a job before they have to go to grad school. So there are lots of ways to try to handle this student debt thing, and it's not by saying, oh, I really want to go to the University of Chicago, and I don't care what it costs versus going to Michigan State. Michigan State is a much more reasonably priced school. And then there are other schools that will pay a student to come that are small liberal arts colleges that maybe the student has never heard of, but they could get a great education and would serve them well.
Catherine Mars with Mars College Admission Advisors, marscaa.com, talking about this new survey. 70% of millennials say student debt is a bigger threat than North Korea. Now, this study was done before North Korea launched that big intercontinental ballistic missile, but I think it really illustrates that point that, what we deal with on a daily basis, it's right here personally in our own lives, tends to be more of a threat to us, right, than the outside things, the things that are overseas, et cetera. And we don't hear as much about these in the news, but it's good to talk about them from time to time, especially when you got, on average, people borrowing about $28,000, a little over $28,000, and 11.8% of loan recipients in this article, they say, go into default.
Right. And that's partly because they don't understand it when they're borrowing it. So they don't have a good clue as to what it means that, oh, I have to start paying off this debt as soon as I graduate, even if I am simply working as a waitress. Yeah.
I had friends, too, that you've probably seen this before, Catherine, but I had friends, too, that years ago would take out student loans and buy other things with their student loans.
Right.
Yeah. And at the time, it seemed like, oh, these guys are geniuses. But, boy, looking back, I'm glad I never got involved in that. Wow.
Right.
Oh.
And it's one thing for a wealthy family to say, well, I can borrow the money to send my child to college on a lesser interest rate and let my investments grow. And then as soon as they graduate, pay it off. That's a whole different way of approaching things. Most people can't do that. And so it really, really needs to be a serious conversation between parents and their students with, okay, so if you borrow this money and, the interest is going to compound while you're in school, are you ready to be able to make a $300 a month payment when you graduate?
I have to ask you.
And it doesn't go away until bankruptcy.
Well, that's the rough part, and many of them are just stuck with this for years and years and years. Catherine Mars is on the phone right now with us, marscaa.com. That's Mars with 2 R's. But let me ask you, Catherine, have you ever told anybody not to go to college?
Yes.
That maybe it's just not the right
Yes.
fit.
I have told parents and their students, but the student has already said to me, I don't want to go to college. You know, it's my parents pushing me to go to college because everybody in my family always goes to college. Well, there are some students that really don't need to go to college, that they are not wired for sitting in a classroom and learning that way, that they are more wired with hands-on and doing something with their, you know, using their brains in a way that's much more technical. So those kids would do great at becoming like an aircraft mechanic or a plumber or an air conditioner repairman or who knows. But there are lots of careers out there that we are needing desperately to fill, and we don't have it. So, yes, I do think that there are kids who really should look at the vocational side of things versus a college degree.
Catherine Mars, thank you so much.
They can always get a college degree later.
I appreciate you joining us and giving us the heads up on this. If you want to find out more, you dig a little deeper, Mars College Admission Advisors, it's Mars, 2 R's, CAA.com. We'll put a link on our website, too. Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you so much.
Hey, we appreciate you. Have a great day.